Hello, my name is David Raymond. My final project for CSCIE90 Cloud Computing is AWS Elastic Beanstalk with Java and Eclipse. This is part 2 of my full presentation. This is the live demo. So the first thing we're going to do is open up Eclipse. We're going to create a new Eclipse project. We're going to select AWS Java Web Project. Okay. We're going to call this project RAD. I'm going to type in the project name as RAD. Select our account as default. We're going to select basic Java web application, a simple Java web application with a single JSP. So this is our actual foundation, or the base application for our dashboard. Hit finish. Okay, the project will be created. We're going to make some modifications to the index JSP that's under web content. Okay, so you expand that, and we're going to get rid of some stuff we don't need. So the first thing is that Raymond Tech consultants don't monitor Amazon Dynamo databases right at this moment. So we don't need to have that in our dashboard. So this is a 3-column dashboard. We're going to get rid of one of the columns, and that's this one right here, right in the middle, the Amazon Dynamo database tables. All right, and then we're going to, in order to clean that up, we don't need Dynamo references anymore. So we're going to get rid of the credential reference. We're going to get rid of the variable reference at the beginning of the page, and then we're going to get rid of the imports for Dynamo library. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the title of the web page to Raymond Tech AWS dashboard, and we're going to actually make one more modification. We're going to use this piece of code here to select a property from our environment that's going to be the title on the page. So the dashboard will say something like Raymond Tech AWS dashboard for Dave Raymond, or something to that effect. The good thing about this, the cool thing about using properties, environment properties, is that you could do things like if you had multiple environments and you had to have a different database for each environment, so you'd have, like, for a QA environment, you'd have a QA database, then you could put your connection properties into parameters in your environment, and then you could just reference them in your code, and so you wouldn't have to really worry about changing your code at all, or changing some kind of properties file within your application. You can just change these environment variables, and it's much easier. So it's a cool feature. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to test this. Okay. So in order to test this, we're going to deploy it to Tomcat. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. We're going to create a server project to create a Tomcat server. Okay, so let's select server. We're going to select a wizard. We're going to select Apache Tomcat 7 server. Okay, select leave the defaults. We're going to select where our code for the Apache server is. It's right here. There we go. Okay, and so we're going to say finish, and it's going to create our server project, and we'll now have our Apache server to run to do local testing. So then what we're going to do is we're going to right-click our project, and we're going to test this right on Tomcat. So we're going to do run on server. Okay, we're going to select now. We're just going to select the server we just created, which is the Tomcat version 7 server on localhost. We'll click finish. Our application will be deployed to it. It'll start the server up. Our application will be deployed to it, and it'll take a few seconds, and we should see our dashboard. Okay, there we go. So now there's our dashboard. Okay, and you can still see some of the instances that I already created and some buckets that have been created. So that's cool. So it's working. So the next step for us is to deploy this from Eclipse to the AWS cloud using the Elastic Beanstalk. So I'm going to right-click on the project. We're going to say deploy to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, I'm going to select manually define a new server. We're going to select the Amazon Web Service, and then underneath that, we're going to select AWS Elastic Beanstalk for Tomcat 7. We're going to leave the defaults. We're going to accept the defaults for server host name and server name, and click Next. For region, we're going to select US East. For our application name, we're going to type in RAD. We'll call it Raymond Tech QA Raymond Tech application, rather. Raymond Tech AWS dashboard. Let's call it that. Okay, under environments, we're going to create a QA environment. So we're going to rad-QA. I'm going to call this Raymond Tech AWS dashboard QA environment. There we go. We're going to select you have three choices under type. You have single instance web server environment, load balanced web server environment, and worker environment. We're going to select single instance web server environment. Click next. Okay. We're going to deploy it with a key pair, but we're going to use what we already have, which is the Raymond key pair for me. You'd be choosing your own. Assign CNAME. Okay, we're going to do rad-QA for our CNAME. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us a URL to our environment. That's rad-qa.elasticbeanstalk.com. Okay, we're not going to enter any other information. We're going to use incremental deployments, which means only the files that change will be merged into the application deployment when we deploy, if we do redeploys. So it will cut back on the amount of changes that have to happen and speed up the process of deployment. We hit next. You'll see that the RAD application is now associated to this new server that we're creating. Click finish. Okay, and now we're going to get this. It's going to start to deploy, publish the application. You can see this details here. It's going to take a pretty good amount of time. What it's going to do is it's going to create a whole environment for us within the AWS cloud using the Elastic Beanstalk. It's then going to publish the application to that environment, and then after that it'll show us the application running in Eclipse's built-in web browser, and we can check some of the configuration at that point. So I'm going to pause the video, and then we'll be back in a few minutes once this is deployed. Here, the application's been deployed, the environment's been created, and as you can see, my built-in Eclipse browser is now showing my rad-qa.elasticbeanstalk.com URL, and you can see my instances and you can see my buckets. All right, so if you look down here, now we have a rad-qa.aws Elastic Beanstalk server, and it has some information about the US East, Virginia, so where the region is, what region I'm using, the fact I'm using a 64-bit Amazon Linux AMI, I'm running Tomcat 7 and Java 7, the environment's ready, and that my application is started. So that's cool. So now let's see what we can see from the actual server. Let's see what kind of information we can get. So if you open that up, you can see from to adjust it a little bit. And some of these screens take a little time to load, so you have to be patient. But you can see that we have server name information, we have host name, tells you what version of Tomcat we're running, has a link for us to use. It allows us to change the modify settings of publishing. So if we only want to publish manually, like we want to tell it to publish, so we want to tell Eclipse that we don't want to automatically publish or anything, we want to manually do it, you just leave it selected by default to never publish automatically, which is the default. You can select automatic publishing when resources change. So when you change a file, it can automatically deploy back up into the environment. Then you can automatically publish after a build event, but I don't want to do any of those, so you can change the timeout, specify the timeout for the server to complete an operation. I haven't tried that. I'm not sure how that would work if we changed it, but and you can select and deselect use incremental deployments. Okay, so and then incremental deployments publishes only the changes in your project since your last deployment, which means faster deployments. Okay, so then there's 6 tabs here. There's Overview, Environment Resources, Configuration, Advanced Events, and Log. The Environment Resources is a little bit of a finicky screen here. Let's open this up a little bit. It shows you a few things here. So it'll show you all the instances that are running in your application, and so it shows you all the instances that are running. And you can click on these instances and you can refresh them, reboot, terminate. You can stop the instance. You can open a shell on them. I didn't try doing that. But it shows me my instances running, the instances associated with my environment. So it's interesting. It has interesting information there for that. Okay, now you can go to configuration. Now this is the heart of this whole thing. And this is where you need a VPC. And I'm going to show you the error that I get when I try to change something. So, all right. So now this is everything. This is great. This is all the settings that I would probably want to change. And one of these is environment type. So say I want to change my environment type, I can change it from single instance to load balanced. You can add keys to this environment. You can change the monitoring interval to 1 minute from 5, which is okay. So it's cool. You can make all these changes, and you can change heap sizes on the Tomcat service. running your JVM. So it's the JVM that's running to run your code from the Tomcat service. So it's great. It has all the configuration you could possibly want. Here's where it has a param name here. These are the parameters you have. I'm going to show you these things through the console in a few minutes too. But so it has the access key. You could use secret key, JVC connection string. As I was saying before, you could use the param, and you have multiple parameters you can use. But like if we try to actually, right now this is only a single instance, so we really can't make a change here. So, but when we click advanced, you can see also too that there's you can set the auto scaling, the availability zone rather in the auto scaling. You can set the launch configurations information, the size of the instance type. So let's just try to change our size of our instance type, and then we'll click save. And there you go. There's the error. The server cannot be saved for the following reasons. Option setting associate public IP address are valid only in a VPC. However, your environment is currently not running in a VPC. So I'm not too sure. So it's giving me this associate public IP address. I'm not sure if this means that something's wrong with the default way that the Beanstalk or the Beanstalk plugin from Eclipse handles the environment. So it's giving me this error that that I can't use these features, and it looks like to me that I'd have to have a VPC environment running, and it would have to have public IP addresses for those servers, etc. This still is very useful because it gives you information that you need about your environment, and it can show you the events that happen in your environment, which is great. So that's another great feature here, and it can show you the logs. And this is an aggregation of many logs that are running in your environment, and it gives you a tail of 100, I think, entries from each one. So this is really good. So this is useful. So you can get good amount of information about your environment, and under some situations, in some conditions, you'd be able to actually make all your or most of your changes from this environment. So that's pretty cool. I think that all is great, and hopefully in the future that they'll get these kinks worked out a little bit and be able to do more with that. So now the next step is we're going to go into the actual Amazon console and play with that for a second. So let me start from the beginning here. Well, actually, yeah, let's start from the beginning. So let's log in, scratch the Amazon Management Console. Okay, and now we're going to choose Elastic Beanstalk. That's where we pushed our environment. So now we have a RAD QA environment, and it's a nice little dashboard. If you have multiple applications, you'd see multiple listed here. You can pick your. This is the application, and then underneath it. So if you have more than one application, they show up one after the other right here, and then you see underneath the application you have a QA environment, the RAD QA environment, and you have a set of application versions, and you have other environments you can set, other environment configurations you can set. So let's go into RAD QA, and you'll see that there's a nice dashboard for this, and it gives you the health of your environment. It gives you the running version, and always have Git in front of it because it uses the Git protocol to deploy the application version, and it stores it with that name in the S3 bucket. It shows you the configuration of your environment, of your software and your instances. Okay, so that's great. It gives you the recent events, which is really a good feature. You can go configuration. This is the real important part here, and you can change the environment. So we can change it from a single instance to a load balance, which we might do in a minute, or we'll create a prod environment, or probably just create a prod environment. But you can see that there's some configuration changes you can make here, and they're greater as the load balance environment has a lot more that you can change. But if you go to instances, you can change the size of your instance. You can change the key pairs that are being used. You can change a security group. You can use a custom AMI. So it's pretty good. It gives you the logs. Now here you see so these are generating logs that I have requested. The cool thing about this, you can request a log. You can request the full log. You can request the last 100 lines. So if we request the last 100 lines, let's do that just to see what it does. It creates another file. See right here, it'll create a new file. You can download it, and again, here's your log information. It creates the last 100 entries from each of the logs that it's aggregating. So that's a pretty cool feature. You can see monitors. It'll tell you the CPU utilization. It'll tell you the maximum network and the amount of data going into your networks. It'll give you the amount of data coming out of your networks. You can set alarms here. I don't think there's any existing alarms, so but you can set a new alarm. And you can look at events. Here's the events, and this gives you more events that you can look at. You can put tags in your environment. So this is the front end. This is the actual UI that you get. So that's pretty good. It's a good UI. Okay, now we're going to make a change so that we can see our title change. So we're going to go to software configuration. We're going to edit it. We're hitting the gear. You'll see on the bottom of the screen there's property names. We're going to edit property param 1. We're going to put our new title as Raymond Tech AWS dashboard. We'll hit save. Yep, changes are still being made. Okay, so now we're going to check it again. The changes look like they've been made. Refresh our screen. Take a few seconds for it to reload. Oop, there we go. Raymond Tech AWS dashboard. So the title changed. So we're able to change an environmental parameter of property, and which was the param1 property, and put our new dashboard title in, and we can now see it. So that concludes this demo.